Welcome to a sports betting podcast from pregame.com for the week of November 5th, 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell. I'm joined by Vegas Runner, a genuine professional batter here in Las Vegas, Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business. This is segment 2 of 6, big game preview, college football, High State, Penn State. VR, give us the line on this game.
All right, this one opened up Penn State as a minus 3.5 point home favorite with a total of 40. And as of this morning, we've seen no movement. Penn State's still 3.5, and the total's 40.
All right, so I read an interesting thing that a commentary that said that if the wise guys bet on the favorite, it's going to move to the favorite. If they bet on the dog, it's going to move to the dog, which is simple enough. But they say if they don't bet, it means they might like the dog, but they don't like the favorite because they know the public most likely is going to be on the favorite, so they're going to be really inclined to play that early. So the fact there's no move says they would have, either they like nothing or they're waiting to get more points with the dog. Though that's interesting since it's so close to a key number, meaning that if there is some dog action and it's going to go down to 3, and if waiting to go up to 4 isn't near as valuable, you would think people, and we brought this up a few weeks ago, is when you are one tick away from really getting screwed with your number. So if I like the dog, I hate +3 if I can get 3.5. They probably wouldn't wait for 4.
No.
So I think we can be pretty confident the wise guys are neutral.
I have no opinion at all because they'd grab I was surprised they didn't grab 3 in a hook, which is almost automatic for them with a close game like this.
All right, so Marco, when you look at this game, what's the main thing that jumped out at you?
Main thing for me is Penn State's going to only be playing their second physical team this season, and they struggled against their first. The Big Ten, which was Iowa. They lost that game. The Big Ten has shifted in the last few years. It used to be a power conference, run it down your throat and everything. It's become a finesse conference with most of the teams. Michigan switching to the spread offense with Rodriguez coming in. You've got Northwestern, Minnesota, all those teams, Indiana running, more offensive oriented, no defense. The only teams that play physical ball left in the Big Ten are Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. Everybody else is finesse, and this will be the only second.
That's a good point. That's a gold star point there. All right, VR, when you look at this game, when you looked at it, what was the main thing that jumped out at you from a handicapping angle?
That Penn State has such a huge, overwhelming advantage in the passing game because everywhere else...
Which is the counter, so it's going to be the...
Everywhere else, they're extremely close. Both teams play awesome defense, whether they're at home or on the road, doesn't matter. Stats are almost exactly the same. Both teams run the ball 35, 40 times a game, get the same kind of yardage. So it's going to come down to the one thing one team does better than the other. And I think Penn State has a huge advantage passing. Ohio State's done absolutely nothing. 53% completions, 190 yards a game. You look at Penn State, they're completing over 63% of their passes, thrown for 250 yards a game. A much more balanced attack, definite edge. And at 3, I lean Penn State here. I'll tell you straight out what I like.
One thing that Ohio State has, VR, they have had 21 turnovers this year. This defense gets the ball. They caused the turnover.
So when you look at turnovers, do you look at them as they're random and throughout the year they're just going to average out? Because there's a lot of NFL systems that say bet on the teams that have the worst turnover differential because it's going to balance out and they look worse than they are. Though other factors are certain quarterbacks don't throw interceptions, certain defenses are ball-hawking defenses. How do you look at turnovers when there's an extreme, like we're 2/3 through the year and Ohio State looks extremely bad in that area? Do you look for the turnaround, or is that a negative against Ohio State?
Well, actually, this is a positive for them because it's their defense that's getting the turnovers.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. But good. Thank you for the distinction. Either way, though, how do you look at turnovers as a handicapper?
There's no way to try to predict them when you're looking at them, but it's just seemed to me that over the years, it seems a team has a year they're blessed. Whenever they start getting the turnovers, they just keep coming. If they're turning it over, they just keep turning it over. And then next year's where you see the reversal for whatever reason. That's what I
real
thought.
quick.
I agree completely, because what they call it is the luck factor index or whatever. And when a team is positive in turnovers, the next year they might go negative. And I agree with that, because it's tough to turn things around midway through the season that significantly. I mean, these teams play 10, 11 games. When you're 6, 7 games in, if you're turning the ball over, it's pretty tough to stop turning the ball over out of nowhere.
Now, VR, you made the point about about the passing games. Well, that extends into a conversation about QB from Ohio State prior. This is a guy, and we were talking about it before the show, is if he didn't have a great pedigree coming in, and all he was, hey, 2 years as a starter, here's his results, here's his stats, he would be average or below average at best. And it's at some point, we talk about this with teams and with the Titans this year in the NFL. At a certain point, the pedigree and the expectation has to go out the window. This is just a bad team. But this is just an average quarterback, it seems to me. Do either of you guys disagree with that?
I disagree wholeheartedly about it. Everybody is going on about that he's not for real. I've seen this guy play personally. This guy is for real. What people are forgetting is he's got no Beanie Wells in the backfield this year. He's lost his top wide receiver to the NFL.
Have you seen him throw?
He doesn't have NFL quality. They didn't replace.
Yeah, but 50% completions.
Again, this is what the show is about, discussing points. You watch this guy and you think, that's where I want my money.
He's taken a regression this year, but he's taken the regression because he doesn't have all of the tools that he had available last year.
As Ohio State had a worse quarterback, in the last 10 years. Would you trade Pryor for any other starting quarterback of the last 10 years? They won the Heisman with their QB a few years ago.
He's all hype in my book. It was all hype. He hasn't done anything.
Marco's point's valid that he looks probably worse because of his surrounding cast. But man, at some point he's got to be the guy that makes the difference.
He's a great athlete, but he's not a great quarterback.
Couple interesting points here, and I'm just going to take them off because we're running a little late here. Is Ohio State is 6-0 last 6 games against winning teams, which kind of goes against some of the idea that Ohio State can't get it done against the better team. Clearly, they're having trouble against the very best teams, but against these winners that aren't top 5, they seem to be at least 6-0. They're 26-9 in conference ATS. That's a big number, 26-9.
This is a huge
So they're
conference
doing well in the Big Ten. I think there's a counterpoint to this. The only thing anyone's looking positive with Ohio State, I think, is they've been blowing some teams out. To me, that's the classic situation like with Kansas this year, is a team that can blow out the bad teams but can't play against the good teams. Just because Ohio State is blowing out a couple crappy teams, I don't think we should think they're back either, as much as seeing 45-0 makes you think that on the scoreboard.
I was impressed with how Penn State bounced back after that loss to Iowa. This team's won 5 straight and covered all 5 games. So they, usually when teams are out of that BCS picture, you see that they fold a little bit. This team didn't do that at all. They went on and rocked everybody.
And they've actually covered 5 straight if you look at the last stat. Last point, and then Marco, you're going to give a $10 coupon away here because we don't have an official free pick in this segment. We got 3 of them coming up, though, is this USC loss with Ohio State. Now seeing the way that Oregon dominated this team and Notre Dame played them tight, I think Ohio State playing USC close doesn't look as good either. So, all right, Marco, so give us, each week we give away a coupon. Hit us.
Well, last week our free selections swept the board. All 3 of us won. So we're going to make this week's coupon Sweep 10. The word sweep and the number 10, and you're going to get $10 off. Go to pregamepros.com. Make any selection you want, put it in your shopping cart, and then just add that.
You apply the coupon in the shopping cart when you're checking out. Who's the hottest pregame pro?
Pregame pro, we've got Spartan still winning those triple plays.
What's his record? Let's not dismiss that. What's his record?
75-30.
75-30.
In 2009. And speaking of 2009, we got a capper. Goodfellas had 9 winning months out of 10 for 2009.
All right, so you got your coupon Sweep 10 to give this a try. Okay, that was segment 2 of 6. Next up is we're going to be talking one last college football game, Nebraska, Oklahoma. And remember, you can watch all of our videos at pregame.tv, or if you want to download and listen, just go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.